Have you ever thought about health like it's a journey instead of like some destination? That's a pretty interesting idea, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
So we're diving into this blog post today.
Yeah.
It's by this guy, Thomas P. Seeger. He has a PhD. And he connects this idea of health as a journey to entropy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it might sound a little intimidating, but stick with us.
Yeah.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Seeger starts off by taking us all the way back to this book published in 1944.
Okay.
It's called What is Life by Erwin Schrödinger.
Oh, yeah.
And it had this pretty revolutionary idea about how life is actually defined by the flow of energy.
Yeah, so Schrödinger basically said that without this constant flow of energy, like we would all just eventually succumb to entropy and end up in a state of equilibrium, which is basically just a fancy way of saying things, would kind of just,
Stop.
Yeah.
So no more late night snacks, no more morning coffee. Is that what a world ruled by entropy would look like?
Well, not exactly. It's more like without this constant energy flow, all the complex processes that make life possible would eventually just wind down.
Okay.
So think about it this way. Even something like as simple as a warm cup of coffee cooling down to room temperature is an example of entropy in action.
Oh, okay. I'm starting to see how this applies to the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
But how did scientists even begin to understand this whole entropy thing? I mean, it seems pretty abstract.
Yeah, it definitely is a tricky concept.
Yeah.
But it all started with this German physicist named Rudolf Clausius back in the 1800s.
Okay.
And he was studying heat transfer.
Okay.
And he noticed how heat always flows from hotter objects to colder ones, never the other way around, right?
Right, yeah.
So he came up with a way to measure this change, this transfer of heat divided by the temperature, and called it entropy.
So entropy is basically a measure of how things tend to even out over time.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
It's not that you can measure entropy directly, like with a thermometer or something.
All right.
It's more about the change between two states.
Gotcha.
And then another scientist, Ludwig Boltzmann, he expanded on this idea by showing that entropy applies not just to heat, but also to the way things mix and reach equilibrium.
Like how my coffee and cream eventually blend together perfectly.
You got it.
Okay.
Think about two gases being combined in a container, right?
All right.
They'll eventually mix completely, and that process, the tendency towards disorder and uniformity, that's what increases entropy.
Okay, so entropy makes things more disordered over time.
Right.
Does that mean everything is eventually destined to become one big homogeneous blob?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
There's this famous thought experiment called Maxwell's demon that kind of seems to challenge this whole idea of entropy always increasing.
Okay.
So imagine this tiny demon controlling a door between two containers filled with a mix of gases.
Is this demon like a tiny bouncer at a super exclusive gas molecule club?
Uh-huh. Sort of.
Okay.
So this demon can actually sort the gas molecules, letting the fast-moving ones into one container and the slow-moving ones into the other.
Okay.
And theoretically, it could do this without using any energy.
Oh, wow.
Which seems to go against this whole idea that entropy always increases, right?
So this demon could essentially create a perpetual motion machine
That was the idea.
just by sorting gas molecules. That's crazy.
Yeah, but the catch is that for the demon to be able to sort the molecules correctly, it would need to have information about their speed and position.
Okay.
This is where things get mind-blowing because it implies that information itself can act as a kind of negative entropy.
Hold on. So you're saying that knowledge can actually counteract this tendency towards disorder?
Exactly.
Huh. I never thought about it that way.
And it gets even wilder.
Okay.
This concept suggests that information, just like energy, can potentially be used to perform work.
So it's almost like saying knowledge is power in a very literal sense.
Exactly.
That's a pretty radical idea.
Yeah.
So where does this concept of information as negative entropy take us next?
Well, that's where this brilliant mind named Claude Shannon enters the picture.
Okay.
He connected entropy to information theory while working at the famous Bell Labs.
Bell Labs. Wasn't that where they invented, like, everything back in the day?
Yeah, it was a hotbed of innovation.
Okay.
So Shannon was trying to figure out how to compress data for more efficient transmission. And he actually came up with a statistical measure of information content that was mathematically similar to Boltzmann's entropy equation.
So thermodynamics and information theory, two seemingly unrelated fields, are connected by this concept of entropy.
Exactly, yeah.
That's crazy.
It's incredible how these different areas of science can just converge like that.
Yeah.
And what's even more amazing is that Shannon's work heavily influenced by his understanding of entropy, could be considered a key factor in the shift from the Industrial Revolution to the Information Age.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's definitely some food for thought.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to wrap my head around how all of this connects back to health. You mentioned Thomas Seeger's blog post at the beginning.
Right, yeah, let's circle back to that.
Okay.
So Seeger's article begins with this simple question, what is health?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It seems straightforward, but the truth is there's no universally accepted definition.
Yeah.
And that's where this whole concept of entropy comes into play.
Okay, I'm all ears. How does entropy help us define health?
Well, Seeger argues that instead of thinking of health as a static state of being, we should see it as a dynamic process.
Okay.
And this is where the analogy of entropy comes in.
So instead of striving for some, perfect state of health, we should think of it more as a constant balancing act.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It's not about the absence of stressors,
Right.
but rather about the body's incredible ability to adapt and recover from them.
So a healthy system is one that can handle a certain amount of chaos and disorder.
You could put it that way.
Yep.
It's about resilience,
Yeah.
about being able to bounce back from challenges. And you know what? This idea might actually apply beyond our physical bodies as well.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What else could this concept of entropy apply to?
Well, Seeger goes on to talk about this truly bizarre phenomenon in quantum physics called quantum entanglement.
Oh, I think I've heard about this.
Yeah.
It's like two particles, no matter how far apart they are somehow linked and can influence each other instantly, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And it's not just some theoretical idea.
Right.
It's been experimentally confirmed,
Oh, wow.
which is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But what's even more fascinating is how this idea might relate to consciousness.
Hold on. Are we saying that our minds could be connected like entangled particles?
It's a radical concept, I know.
Yeah.
But some scientists believe that if tiny particles can be linked across vast distances, influencing each other instantaneously, maybe consciousness works in a similar way, transcending the limitations of our physical bodies.
Whoa, that's a pretty huge leap. But I have to admit, it's incredibly intriguing. So you're suggesting that our consciousness might not be limited to our brains, that it could be something more expansive, something we tap into.
It's a mind-bending idea, isn't it?
It is.
And it challenges the traditional view that consciousness simply emerges from the physical structures of the brain.
Yeah.
What if, as Seeger proposes, consciousness is more like a field that we connect to, rather than something generated by the physical matter of our brains?
Okay, now my mind is officially blown.
Yeah.
This is getting into some pretty deep territory.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
And it all ties back to this idea that information might be a fundamental aspect of reality.
Right.
Seeger mentions Donald Hoffman's book, The Case Against Reality, where he argues that what we perceive as the physical world could be completely different from the underlying reality itself.
Right.
So our perception of reality might just be like a user interface for something much deeper and more complex.
It's a wild concept.
It's almost like we're living in the Matrix.
Yeah, but it all comes back to the idea that information might be just as important as matter and energy when it comes to understanding reality.
Wow, I need a minute to process all of this.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's amazing how this conversation started with a simple question about health and has led us to these mind-blowing concepts about consciousness and the nature of reality itself.
Right.
But I'm still curious to learn more about how entropy can help us understand health in a practical way.
Well, that's a great segue into the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Let's take a closer look at how this idea of health as a dynamic process, a constant dance between order and disorder, can actually change how we approach our well-being.
Okay, I'm ready to unpack this even further.
Great, because understanding entropy's role in health might just change how you approach your own well-being.
So if health is this dynamic process, this constant interplay between order and disorder, how does that change how we think about taking care of ourselves?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's where this concept of entropy gets really practical. Think about it.
Yeah.
We often view health as the absence of disease or discomfort.
Right.
But if we embrace this idea of health as an entropic process, it becomes less about achieving some perfect state and more about building resilience and adaptability.
So instead of fearing stress, we should see it as a necessary part of growth and adaptation.
Exactly. It's like working out. You're putting stress on your muscles, but that stress is what allows them to grow stronger, right?
Right. Yeah.
The same principle applies to our mental and emotional well-being.
Okay.
We need challenges to learn and evolve.
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
So it's not about avoiding stress altogether,
Yeah.
but about finding healthy ways to challenge ourselves and recover from those challenges.
You got it.
Wow.
And this applies to so many aspects of our lives. Think about getting enough sleep.
Right.
It's essential for recovery and allows your body to process and adapt to the stresses of the day. Or consider the importance of a balanced diet.
Yeah.
It provides the building blocks your body needs to repair and rebuild itself.
Okay, so taking care of ourselves isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It's about investing in our long-term resilience.
Precisely, yeah. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports your body's natural ability to adapt and thrive in the face of challenges.
This is making me think about how we often focus on treating symptoms instead of addressing the underlying causes of health issues.
Right.
Could this entropic view of health help us shift our perspective on that?
Absolutely, yeah. Instead of just trying to eliminate symptoms, we can start asking ourselves, what are the stressors that might be contributing to this imbalance?
Right.
And how can I support my body's natural ability to recover and adapt?
So it's about understanding the interplay between stress and recovery rather than just trying to eliminate stress altogether.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this is where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
Remember that idea of quantum entanglement we were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, some scientists believe this interconnectedness might extend to our consciousness as well.
Wait, are we saying that our individual health journeys could be influenced by a larger, interconnected web of consciousness?
It's a pretty mind-blowing idea, right?
It is.
Think about those times you felt an instant connection with someone, or when you sensed someone was thinking about you.
Yeah.
Could these experiences be glimpses of this deeper connection? Moments when the veil between our individual perceptions of reality thins.
That's definitely a thought-provoking idea.
Yeah.
So if we take this concept seriously,
Yeah.
it's not just about taking care of our own individual health, but about recognizing how our well-being might be connected to the well-being of others.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's about understanding that we're all part of a larger system,
Right.
and our actions can have ripple effects that extend beyond ourselves.
So caring for ourselves is also a way of caring for the collective.
You could say that, yeah.
Okay.
And if we take this idea even further, it suggests that positive emotions like compassion and empathy might actually have a tangible impact on our collective well-being.
Wow. That's a powerful concept.
Yeah.
So cultivating positive emotions isn't just about feeling good. It's actually a way to contribute to a healthier and more resilient world.
It's a beautiful idea, isn't it?
It is.
And it all stems from this understanding of health as a dynamic process.
Yeah.
This constant dance between order and disorder that we're all participating in together.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We started with this idea of health as a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And explored how embracing the concept of entropy can change the way we approach our well-being.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious to know, what are some practical ways that you as an expert incorporate these ideas into your own life?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about finding ways to support my body's natural ability to adapt and recover.
Okay.
So I prioritize getting enough sleep,
Right.
eating a nourishing diet, and moving my body regularly.
Right.
But it's also about finding ways to manage stress and cultivate positive emotions.
Yeah.
So I practice mindfulness meditation, spend time in nature,
Okay.
and make sure to connect with loved ones.
Yeah.
It's about creating a lifestyle that supports both my physical and mental well-being.
Those are all great tips.
Yeah.
So it's not about following some rigid set of rules,
Right.
but about finding what works best for you
Exactly.
and creating a lifestyle that supports your individual needs and goals.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to health,
Right.
It's about finding what resonates with you and making choices that align with your values and priorities.
I think that's a great message to end on.
Yeah.
But before we go, I have one last question for you.
I'm all ears.
If we are all connected like this, what does that mean for how we approach our own health? Does it change how we interact with the world around us?
Well, it's a fascinating question, isn't it? If we actually consider this idea of interconnected consciousness, it really challenges us to think beyond our own individual well-being.
Yeah.
It suggests that caring for ourselves is also a way of caring for the collective.
So it's like what they say about putting on your own oxygen mask first before helping others on a plane.
Right.
You have to take care of yourself before you can effectively contribute to the well-being of those around you, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And on a deeper level, this interconnectedness suggests that positive actions and emotions, like compassion and empathy, they can actually have a ripple effect that extends beyond ourselves.
So basically, being kind and caring for others isn't just a nice thing to do, it actually contributes to a healthier and more resilient world for everyone.
It's a powerful idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it all stems from this understanding of health as a dynamic process, this constant dance between order and disorder that we're all a part of.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to a whole new way of thinking about health.
Yeah.
It's not just about what I eat or how much I exercise.
Right.
It's about how we interact with the world around me, how I manage stress, and how I cultivate positive emotions.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to health.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you and creating a lifestyle that supports your unique needs and goals.
So if you could leave our listener with one final thought, what would it be?
I would encourage you to embrace the journey,
Okay.
Health isn't a destination.
Right.
It's a process of continuous growth and adaptation. Be kind to yourself, be curious, and stay open to new possibilities. The more you learn about the interconnected nature of our world, the more you'll realize that taking care of yourself is one of the most powerful things you can do to contribute to a healthier and more vibrant world for everyone.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into entropy in health.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been a truly mind-expanding experience. And for you listening out there, remember to keep diving deep and keep those minds open. Until next time.